Hello, this is Reverend Angelia with today's Bible reading. Today's reading comes from the Women's Devotional Bible 2, a story called Quest for Truth. Radio and television talk shows are becoming information sources for many of us. But as we listen, how many times have we wondered, is this really true? Am I hearing correct information? The quest for truth is getting more and more difficult. We live in an era that inundates us with information. How tempting it is to become exasperated and exclaim, "Information overload! Enough is enough." Or perhaps it's tempting to stereotype or take another person's analysis as your own. But in shutting out or simplifying issues, we run the risk of speaking abusively against whatever we do not understand. We need to learn to think critically in order to glean the truth and leave the rest. But how? The book of Jude, written for a time not unlike today, where truth is hidden and false teachers abound, encourages us to ground ourselves in faith and prayer. For it is God who guides us into truth. That's from Psalm 25:5. And who reveals his truth in his Son, Jesus. That's from John 1:17. And in his Word, which is truth. That's from John 17:17. So, excuse me a minute. Sorry about that. Someone calling went nothing because they hung up. But here lately, this past 4 years in America, that has been something that I have noticed. There has been a quest for truth. And some people take things, other people that they, think they're aligned with politically, as saying the truth. That's not always the case, especially if the person that you're listening to has a history of lying about everything and getting caught and then lie to cover up the lie. So think for yourself, people. Critical thinking. Examine a thing. Is that true? If you have no way of knowing, there's this thing called Google. You can search. And even then, if you look at places, that agree with one side versus the other side. But I like the point here about, speaking abusively against whatever we do not understand. If you grew up in an urban area, you're really not going to understand the concerns of people in a rural area. If you grew up in a rural area, you're not going to really understand the concerns of people in an urban area. That's just a fact of life, And the joke about rich people problems, if you're poor, you don't understand that. And rich people don't understand poor people's problems. I mean, I've heard them say, well, they could do this, they could do this. I'm sorry. There was a comedian who joked about taking Mitch McConnell out to California, giving him $20 and setting him out in East LA and saying, okay, you have to live for 2 weeks on this, and see how far he got. So don't listen just because your people are telling you something. That goes for Republicans, Democrats, any group that you are in. You should not be against another group, especially if you don't understand what they stand for. Now, if you do, if you've done your research, and you do understand and you're against them, then, you have to be able to give the reason. So, think about that, and do your own digging, and don't just take anybody's word for anything. I forgot who said, doubt everything you hear. It's not a great way to be, super skeptical, but think about things and whether they make sense, and just don't take other people's words for things, because unfortunately people do lie. And I've been in situations where, when I was younger, where I did listen to people, and then went to confront someone and find out what they told me wasn't even true. So, you know, critical thinking, folks. Think for yourself. And that's all for now. Until next time.